So I'm back. I'm just recording this audio, no video, kind of multitasking. I'm on a walk here with the baby. It's been a while since my last upload, probably about, I don't know, exactly those 5 days that I had talked about in the previous video that I had predicted. And so I'm not letting those 5 days turn into 10 days. Here I am having a conversation with you guys. Just wanted to touch base on what I've been experiencing. The first thing is I didn't really like the cadence or the way that I was speaking in my video. I think if I do want to create something to have mass appeal, I mean, I'm not just doing this to be a journal, right? I'm doing this to actually have people want to watch the channel and to see myself grow and I hopefully be an inspiration for other people growing. So I think I could just speak a little bit more clearly with more purpose. I think that the way you speak, I'm discovering, kind of is a it's a reflection of your purpose. It shows your intent, much like the exercise, right? Like if your voice is weak, you sound like I did in my past videos where I'm like not enunciating and I'm like I sound like I have rust inside my body, like I'm full of corrosion. So they say that words are a spell. You can cast spells with your words. You should be careful with what you speak. And I think the tones, the intonation is also very important. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is that progress is not linear. And as we're witnessing right here, I put myself into like, I guess what you would call the vortex. I was in perfect alignment and feeling really great and up. And it really only took me very little to make me spin and catch me off guard and kind of make me recoil and go back to some of my old ways. And it's something that happens every single time. And so for those of us that are on our transformation journey, I want to propose that it is very important that, well, I've heard of it explained this way, is that when you're catching momentum, eventually you're going to start to wobble. And that's where the persistence comes in. Because if you imagine you're on a bike and you're wobbling, you're just not going the right speed. Either you're going downhill and you're going too fast, or you're going uphill and you're not pushing hard enough. So, really, it's about finding balance. And, for those of us that have lived in, a depressed state or people that have felt bad and that are used to feeling bad, if you think about it, those bad feelings didn't come just all at once. So if you expect like a linear progression, like I'm just gonna wake up one day, I'm gonna feel really good, I'm gonna be aligned, I'm gonna be in the vortex. Something is gonna pull you out, and if you haven't practiced that feeling, it's so unfamiliar and so scary that some of us may sabotage ourselves. Some of us may just we're not used to even the slightest bit of interference is going to throw us off. So, and we all have our very heavy, deep triggers, right? So, you may have, you may be in a great mental state and you're allowing things to roll off your shoulders, and that one trigger gets you and causes you to spiral. So, it's important to recognize what that trigger is. It's important to eliminate it from your life in whatever way possible. But most importantly, it's important to recognize how you feel in the moment. And some advice that was given to me by a very newly acquainted friend. I'll call him a friend here, but he's really my psychologist, my new psychologist that I just visited for the first time on Saturday. And he said, recognize the feelings. Before our next session, recognize the feelings that you're having when you meet a moment of resistance. And because he said the whole session, he said that I talked a lot about my experiences, but I'd never talked about how they made me feel. So my mission for the week was to recognize those feelings. But before I left, I corrected him. I said, well, I do recognize those feelings. I just don't know how to cope with them. And he said, well, that's interesting. Let's pick it up on the next session. I think he knew. I think he knew that even just recognizing the feelings that I'm having in the moment, that you'd be surprised what level of coping you actually do have if you're just able to pay attention to the feelings that you're having and what's causing them in the moment. And it's fears that hold you back. So, before we talk about the fears, a word of warning for those of you that are on your transformational journey that are learning to cope and learning to be happy again. Just remember that that process is not linear. You built all your stages of depression like an onion on top of layer on top of one another. You snowballed it, that depression. So you need to snowball your way out of of it. And undoing them is not what you may think. Uh, Undoing those layers is not really what you may think. You don't actually have to undo them. All you have to do is snowball back in the opposite direction. So, but it's important to be aware that this is what's going to happen, that you're going to start to wobble and you need to control your speed. It's so easy to get caught up in those like that euphoric feeling and it's so unfamiliar, right? You feel like you're on another planet. I told a friend I felt like I was walking in a prayer. How is it possible to go from feeling so good to so bad so quickly? So that's where the patience and the persistence comes in. That is in the metaphor of riding the bike. It's you riding uphill. And in the same metaphor of you riding the bike, if you're speeding downhill and you're going too fast, you may have to pump the brakes a little bit. You may be getting ahead of yourself. And remember, this is all a practice on being present in the moment. If you get yourself all up in a flurry, you might be missing the synchronicities or the messages or even just the simple little experiences that thanks. Love having nice neighbors. Yeah, it is nice having nice neighbors. You know, living here in Queens, there's a lot of interactions. You're around a lot of people. There's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different walks of life. And this is the perfect playground to practice because you could walk around and you could be dark and just see all the grime. You could see all the negative, or you could walk in the sun and be with your stroller. And a nice guy just, plays crossing guard for me. And so there really are good people out there. And, when you talk about perception and the reflection, the way the universe reflects back on you, you're seeing it in a good light, good things will come. And if everything's negative, you're just going to perpetuate that negativity. And, long pause there, just for some thought. I'm going to sign off here, guys. I love you so much. Have a great day.